Hey everybody, it's Harry from Cutthroat Kitchen BBQ. You cannot imagine where I'm at. I'm in Ponca City and I'm here with Stuart. Stuart's gonna kind of tell you guys what we're gonna be doing here in a couple of days. We're gonna be spending at a Cookshack facility.
So we're so glad to have you, Harry. We're gonna start out by just cooking some beef brisket first, which is one of my favorites. And so we'll get to see how you like to cook beef brisket on an FEC 100. So the FEC 100 is kind of the standard out on the cook-off circuit for pellet-fired cooking equipment. And so it's a pellet-fired smoker, has digital controls on it, so we're able to set it low and get a lot of great smoke into the product and then cook hot and finish it off.
Wonderful. So we're gonna be cooking all night long tonight. Tomorrow, you're gonna give me a quick tour of the floor. You guys are gonna watch how Cookshack assembles and fabricates all the equipment from the raw materials all the way to the assembly line, going out the production door. And then we're gonna interview Eddy.
Yes.
And get a little bit of background. Also interview Stuart to learn a little bit more about this legendary company called Cookshack, based in Ponca City, Oklahoma.
I'm Stuart Powell, president of Cookshack Incorporated. And Cookshack was founded in 1963 by Gene and Judy Ellis. And Gene had a real passion for barbecue, loved to cook, and came up with our first electric smoker back in the mid-50s, and then started manufacturing them into the 60s, and then really got going in the 70s. And in 1991, they hired me to manage the business for them. And so I've been here ever since, 30 years now. We realized pretty early on that we needed something bigger and something that had rotating racks. In 1999, I met Fast Eddy, and so we partnered up in 2002 and started building pellet-fired smokers, which allowed us to get into the big rotating rack smokers, and has really grown our business into more of the barbecue world, where Cookshack in the past had been more into the smaller side of the barbecue world. And more into restaurants that were just adding products into it. Then in about 2008, we started designing a pellet grill with Ed Martin, Fast Eddy, and we came out with a line of pellet grills at that time. And those are today the only pellet grill that has an active patent on it today, and allows you to direct cook and also indirect cook. We've also come out with pellet-fired charbroilers for restaurants and a pellet-fired pizza oven. Cookshack here, we're really concerned about taking care of our employees and our community, so we do a lot of things around the culture here. We do a lot of lean manufacturing things, as you see on the shop floor. We've done things for the Humane Society. We've helped build houses for Habitat for Humanity, things of that nature, so we really try to give back to our community here in Ponca City.
Wonderful, Stuart. So, Stuart, share with the audience, what is your favorite item to cook?
Probably my absolute favorite item to cook is salmon. I love doing salmon.
What makes you happy?
Seeing other people's success is probably the thing that makes me the happiest. I love to see other people succeed. I belong to a CEO organization, which allows us to help other CEOs, and I love seeing those people succeed. I love seeing my employees succeed in life, and that's probably the thing that makes me happiest.
All right, so all we did was we did a simple backyard trim, nothing too drastic. I trimmed mostly all the silver skin or the fascia off the flat. I didn't do very much with the point. The fat caps pretty much is intact. We're gonna throw it into the FEC. I did a little bit of injection since I'm in Oklahoma. Homage to my good buddy Dave Buska from Witch's Barbecue. We use some of his product here. So some of his prime butcher injection. And I'm gonna apply some Cutthroat Kitchen competition rub now and get some of my love rub, which is a moolah beef rub. What's special about this rub is it's got additional umami ingredients, even though there's no MSG. I have things like shiitake, mushroom powder, I have citric acid, I put Worcestershire powder, maple sugar, and a whole bunch of other stuff that is gonna make your brisket super duper yummy. So you notice that the brisket is kind of wet from the injection. So when it's wet, there's really no need to apply any schmear. But if the brisket is dry, you did not inject, you can apply a schmear. You can use Worcestershire or you can use something like mustard. They work really well. What you're gonna do is you're gonna apply the product on until it becomes opaque. So I'm gonna show you. You put it on until it becomes opaque like that. Pat it down. So you never rub a rub. You always kind of pat down a rub like a baby's bottom. And you want to be gentle because you don't want to press so hard that it pushes the injection out from the holes. And I'm gonna go back and repeat with the same muscle memory, double the amount of rub. And that's about perfect to get you a fantastic flavor on your brisket. Brisket, we're gonna cook another one of my favorites, which is pork belly pig candy. This is a super easy pork belly dish to make. All you need is just brown sugar, some good barbecue rub, and some cayenne or chipotle. So Scott here is helping me out. Scott, what are you putting on it?
I'm putting chipotle, chiles, and some of this fabulous chicken rub and beef rub, and then
lots of brown sugar.
Lots and lots of brown sugar.
So the key is to let this sit overnight. So this technique is called a dry brine. The dry brine allows the salt to penetrate the meat so that it's seasoned all the way to the middle. If you let it sit overnight in the pit and then you kind of smoke it the next day, you can pick your favorite smoking temperature. You can cook it 225, 250, 275, it's all good. So what you want to do is you want to cook it until the pork belly is nice and tender. So you're going to test it with a bamboo skewer to probe it. And once you reach the tenderness you like, you can go ahead and remove it. I like to drizzle honey at the end, a little bit more touch of cayenne, and you cut it into little cubes of morsels of pork heaven. Brisket in the pit for 180 for about 10 hours. Well, folks, here's where all the magic happens, and Cookshack builds all the fantastic smokers and pits right here. And that, my friend, is the special hood used for R&D. And Stuart, CEO, is going to cook the brisket right in the heavy.
So we are going into the smoke mode, so we're 8 hours smoking at 180 degrees. When it gets through at that 8 hours, we'll cook into the cook mode. We got set for 9 hours, probably pull it before then, for 210 degrees.
And folks, you're in luck today because the man who designed the Fast Eddy is right here, and I have Fast Eddy himself. Fast Eddy, pleasure to meet you after all these years. Tell us a little bit of something about your inspiration and how you came about with this idea.
I'm gonna go back. I was a kettle cook. So cooking with the kettle, a lot of times you want one side of the kettle hot and then indirect on the other, and you're cooking with the lid, shut, So I always loved cooking that away, and the pellet grill never did do that. So I wanted some place to have a small hot area to either start or finish cooking the product, and then indirect. So I started playing around with different designs, and then there's the features of how we trap the air in there too. So you got direct, and then a little cooler up on top, but then you got zone 3 and zone 4.
Now, did you approach Cookshack or Cookshack and
we were already together?
Okay.
At that time, Cookshack started manufacturing for me in November of 2002.
So a lot of your ideas are in a lot of these smokers here?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, not just my ideas anymore, now the Cookshack's ideas too, because we've all learned a lot together.
You did a collab together and kind of put your brains together and then kind of cook and see what works, what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, you junk it, move on to the next idea, right?
I always say my scrap pile's bigger than way bigger than the success.
So on your rotisseries, right, the burn pot is visibly burning. You can see it.
Yeah. So we have a furnace area in all those that we actually have the fire pot where your fire is actually burning, and then we bring all that heat and smoke up into the unit and disperse it then into the cooking chamber.
Morning.
Morning. You guys snuck in on me.
Bright and early, and thanks Stuart for putting in the pork belly.
No problem.
We're gonna take a quick look, and we saw the color was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I learned something new from you. I had a lesson from Stuart, and that brisket looks absolutely gorgeous. Nice color, and it's barking up nicely. And we got a pork belly, pig candy on top. Effie is running really smoothly all night long. So folks, if you want to have unattended cooking, get yourself an Effie, one of the Cookshack cookers, and all you need is this little computer, and the computer will do everything for you. So we are now 14 hours into our wonderful cook using Stuart's FEC, and this thing is ready now to be wrapped. The way we test that is we do a scratch test. So you take your fingernail and then you gently scratch the bark, and you notice that the bark has set because there's no rub in my fingernail. That tells you it's set. It's got a little bit of oil here and it's ready to go. So the bark is very important, because if you do not set the bark, you're not going to get any flavor. So the key to cooking brisket and barbecue in general is knowing how to establish the bark. Once we establish the bark, we have to then render the connective tissue so that the connective tissue becomes something soft and moist. So we're going from collagen to gelatin, and I'm going to do a wrap now. As I told you guys before many times on my channel, I have a special kind of wrap. We put the meat kind of on halfway through. We roll it over like that, and you notice a little black belt tip. I created a little foil pouch, so in case there's any excess liquid, I get a little bit of the au jus at the bottom of the brisket. The fat's gonna render, the fat cap is gonna render in au jus, and that au jus is gonna be super yummy later, so that I can dip my slices in the au jus liquid after the cook is done. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll it now, this side. I'm gonna roll 3 sides so it has a watertight seal. And you can also wrap it in butcher paper, but we are gonna use foil today. Between foil and butcher paper, when I compete, I use foil. So for those folks out there who like to use butcher paper, you're more than welcome to do that. Both methods do work. So we have a little bit of Fast Eddy's rub with some Slap at Eddy rub. We'll see which ones these guys like today. Ready to go, 300 degrees, about 2 hours. Thanks for stopping by, checking out my video. It was really fascinating to see how a pellet cooker is fabricated by one of the legendary and oldest pellet manufacturing companies in America. Super big thanks to Stuart, the CEO of Cookshack, for taking us around, and to Fast Eddy for sharing his insights on how he invented his famous grill. And to my patrons, thanks so much for helping me support this channel. Until the next video, we will see ya.